Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the War Report. I am JPJ. This is Matt. Matt, introduce yourself to the people.
What's going on, everyone? Yes, my name is Matt. I am here. I am signed up. I am ready to go on the weekly, excluding next week probably, but on the weekly, I will be here with JPJ doing War Report, NXT, and AEW, the best shows of wrestling, but none of the week for mine.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think we were chatting a little bit before we got on here, and I think Wednesday nights are just the superior night of wrestling when it comes to the mainstream wrestling product. So I'm very excited to have you here. Very excited that it's going to be us two moving forward with this show. So in general, about both of the shows last night, how did you think the night went in general before we start diving into their individual shows?
Look, I thought it was a solid night. It wasn't, anything over the top. Like, we're not talking best of shows or any of that sort of stuff. But I thought it was solid. There was nothing that was, raw bad. Nothing that made you want to turn it off. But I thought, one show maybe dragged a little more than the other. But overall, they weren't a hard watch. They were easy to sit through. So, as per usual on a Wednesday night, happy days.
Exactly. Yeah. Wednesday nights are definitely an easy night of viewing for us wrestling fans. So
for sure.
All right. We will jump right in. We will start with AEW this week. Dynamite last night. Started off with the in-ring return after, we saw him in the Rumble for a little bit, but the one-on-one singles match in-ring return and debut of AEW for Christian Cage. He went against Kazarian. I thought this match was very good. Very, very good. What were your opinions on it?
Yeah, I agree. Like it's going to take me a little while to get used to seeing, Christian back with the Christian Cage moniker and also in a ring that's not WWE. Granted, we saw him in TNA. He's been outside of WWE, but that was nearly 15 years ago now. So it's going to take a bit of getting used to. But this match was real good. You got to thank AEW and Mikey Ruckus for letting everybody have the amazement that is Christian's TNA theme remix. That thing slaps so hard.
Yeah, I thought it was very good.
Damn good.
Yeah, I thought it was very good.
Yeah, but the match itself, look, it's not going to win any Match of the Year awards, but I thought it was smart of them to do Christian's first match back on TV at a tape show. Mm-hmm. It allowed him to hit his stuff. If he stuffed up, they could edit it out. They could do what they needed to do. But overall, he had the right opponent for his return match. These guys go back 20 years.
Yeah.
And Excalibur even brought up they had a banger ladder match in TNA like 13 and a half years ago.
Yeah.
I was happy that they referenced that because these two have that history.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was the perfect opponent for Cage to get back into the swing of things. It got a little bit sloppy down the stretch, which you would expect from Christian. He hasn't done a singles match in seven years.
Yeah,
so,
and this one was lengthy too. It went, it had the 20-minute time limit, and it was pushing that limit.
Yeah, it was up there like 16, 17 minutes. So
yeah, and I think to kind of go off I think. His saying has been outwork everyone, right? That's been the thing, the T-shirt, all that. So I think having a match like that where he worked his ass off and he took some big bumps, which were good to see because we haven't seen him take those type of bumps in 7 years. You know what I mean? No. So when he takes that first bump, getting pushed off the corner to the outside, and he's doing, same thing with like when Daniel Bryan always grabs his head when he's wrestling. Yeah. You believe it because you know the history of the person. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I thought Kazarian was perfect. Like you said, the history there, they know each other, even though they haven't wrestled against each other in a long time. But the history's there. They know each other. And I just thought it was a really good showcase for his first match. He got all his stuff in. He hit the kill switch for the win. The unprettier, the kill switch, they're calling it. I thought overall for a return back, it kind of showed that he can still go. And it's amazing to me that WWE had him 2 months ago. He was in the Rumble, and they could have just been like, yeah, okay, we'll bring you back. And they were just like, no, cool, it's totally cool.
I know they had it all sitting there. They could have done so much, but that it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm certainly going to enjoy him on AEW. I'm thinking about all the matches he could have, and
sure.
he's going to be a veteran voice that is going to help a lot of those young guys, and just maybe the way that the matches are, the styles that AEW has, he's going to be a level voice that's like, hey, we don't have to do everything right away. Like, we can spread it out through the card. We can spread it out through the matches. I just think he's a veteran presence that is going to really benefit that whole company, you know?
Oh, I agree. And I hope the younger talent in the locker room actually took note of like that spot when he got pushed off the top rope. Look at his facials. Look at the way he sells it in the face and in the eyes. Mm-hmm. I really hope the younger talent actually take note of those sort of tidbits and selling points and stuff, because that is what really sells a ticket to people watching the shows.
100%.
But yeah, this was a perfect introduction, perfect opponent for him. I'm just as you said, looking forward to seeing him get in the ring and mix it up with some talent that we haven't seen him in there with.
Absolutely.
It's going to be good moving forward for sure.
Yeah. All right. Then we had a Darby Allin and Sting vignette. Darby talking over a produced video, and he was basically calling out Matt Hardy, saying that Matt has his attention and that Matt's money, quote, doesn't mean shit to him. And so it looks like they're going in that direction of a Matt Hardy versus Darby for the TNT title at some point. I feel like that's where they're going there. How did you feel? You know, it was a quick vignette, but how do you feel about that direction? How do you feel about, I mean, we'll get more into Matt Hardy as it goes on because he's been layered into the show a little bit the last few weeks. Yeah. But what did you think particularly about this vignette?
Look, the video production itself was cool. Pushing Matt Hardy towards the TNT title picture, it just diminishes their ranking system and everything that they've put forward and said that they're going to be different. They're going to be different, but the rankings don't mean anything if someone, I haven't looked at the rankings, but I would assume Matt's not ranked.
I haven't looked at him either. I definitely can look it up though. So.
In the forefront of the champion's mind. To me, that's just silly. It doesn't make any sense. Either get rid of the rankings or make them make sense like they've done in the past. Matt, his last match was against Paige, lost. So why should I be invested in a match that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense? It's, if it happens, when it happens, whatever, it'll be good. I have no doubt about that. Matt's a veteran presence similar to Cage, and Darby is an up-and-coming talent. No problem there. But if they're going to do it, it needs to make sense for mine.
Yeah, and I would agree. And I feel like we've seen them kind of do this before. Like, when the TNT title, like Cody was doing the open challenge, so that was a little different. But we have seen them sprinkle in, like, we even saw it potentially with Omega a couple weeks ago where they were like, hey, you're fighting Matt Sydal. Yeah. And if Matt Sydal wins, he gets a title shot. And it's like, okay, like I understand that, but Matt Sydal is not ranked. We've barely seen him on Dynamite since he's been with the company. So
and they've done that a couple of times. They did it with the Bucks and someone else. I
agree. So we've seen them kind of sprinkle. We've seen them sprinkle in, like, they'll have the rankings, they'll talk about the records, they'll do these things, but then all of a sudden there'll be a random like, oh, this person's getting a title shot. And it's like, okay, well, why?
Yeah.
Like not everybody, like I know me, like I don't watch Dark every week. Elevation, I caught the debut, but I didn't watch it this past Monday. It was a 2.5-hour show. Like that's a lot of wrestling, and not everybody has the time to watch all this wrestling. I wish we all could, but real life gets in the way sometimes. So you got to pick and choose your battles, So I think a little more explanation of like, we've seen on screen they've been going against each other, but like technically, if you're supposed to, like you said, if you're supposed to go by rankings, if Matt Hardy's not ranked, then they can not like each other. That's all well and good, but Matt Hardy should still have to do something to get to Darby Allin. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't just be like Darby's like, oh, I don't like you enough, so cool, like I'll fight you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can have records, but you don't necessarily have to have a ranking system. Yeah. Because notoriously throughout sports, whether it's pro wrestling or mixed martial arts, ranking systems are just basic bullshit, really. UFC have it, but it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And AEW are heading that way. I don't want them to head that way, but it's heading that way.
Yeah.
So hopefully they either pick or choose one way or the other. But simple pro wrestling philosophy for me, I just want it to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not invested.
I would agree with that 100%. So we go from the Darby vignette to backstage, and we have Jade Cargill. She is talking about Red Velvet, and she's saying that, you know, Red Velvet wasn't prepared for her, and that Jade Cargill, I believe the line was, she walks like money, talks like money, and looks like money. And then she said, I am that woman. I am that bitch. And that's what she said in AEW. She is the woman. She is that bitch. I have loved what they've done with her since she showed up. Obviously, we've only seen really the one match.
Yeah.
But just in general, she has been presented since day one as she looks like a superstar, like a star. And
she calls herself money. Like they're portraying her like $1 million.
100%. And I think,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think she has been someone that they've debuted and we've only seen a handful of times, but every time she's on the screen, you're like, oh, that is someone that I want to see. Like she looks like you said, $1 million, 100%.
Yeah, her earlier promos weren't the greatest, but this one was a better.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Just her physical appearance, and she's a bit like China in that she demands eyeballs when she's on screen.
100%.
Yeah, like the sky's the limit for her.
I agree.
Yeah, top notch.
I agree. And I think just in general, we'll talk about it more when we get to some of the women's matches, but I think AEW in general has improved how the women's roster has looked on television these last few months. Definitely started with that tournament. I think that was a good thing to get going, but you know, the things that have stuck out on Dynamite recently have been involving the women, with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa a few weeks ago. Cargill's been a standout. So definitely like the direction. I know that was one of the things people were kind of clamming for when it came to AEW, like, hey, the women need to be presented more. They need to be presented better. And I think we've been starting to see that, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I've got much more to say about that when we get to the main event.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, rock and roll. So then we had the exhibition match between Cody and QT Marshall with Arn as the special guest referee. What did you think about this? I thought it was the story that comes out of it, which we will dive into, I thought was good. It was built upon the promo last week where Cody was like, hey, like, I'll do this. You're one of my best friends. I'll do this, but I want you to know, like, if I have an opportunity to put in the figure 4 leg lock, I'm not doing it. Or if I have an opportunity to hit the crossroads, I'm not doing it. And we saw layered through the match, Cody had an opportunity to do the figure 4, stopped. He had an opportunity to do crossroads, stopped. And then we saw QT kind of almost take that personally. And he was starting to pull Cody down by the hair and just starting to do some, shady tactics, which Cody, you could tell with the facial expressions, like we talked about the facial expressions of Christian. Cody, obviously another longtime, top tier veteran of the business. The facial expressions, you could tell he was kind of like getting pissed. And he was like, like, I'm not going to do anything. You're still my friend, but you're starting to piss me off. You know what I mean?
Especially targeting that shoulder too. That was a point of difference too. They targeted the tape. They made sure to mention the labrum injury and the tape, and they targeted in on that. So look, for what it was okay. It was fine. It was an exhibition, so the non-finish doesn't really mean much. But as we're going to talk about, it was all post-match. Oh yeah, theoretically.
So throughout the match, Cody throws QT to the outside, and Cody kind of does the thing where he's opening the ropes, like get back in, blah blah blah. QT gets in, and he just sucker punches Arn Anderson right in the face. Just boom, one shot. He does. Yes, he does. I personally was not expecting that at all. Saw that Arn dropped and QT just left. And that's when Cody, with all the other Nightmare Family guys, get in the ring. QT's at the top of the ramp, and he's doing his hands on his head like he doesn't know what just happened, like he couldn't control himself. They're all yelling at him, and then QT turns around, and as he turns around, kind of the the younger guys of the group, Anthony Ogogo, Nick Comoroto, and Aaron Solo. Is it Solo or Solo? I'm sorry.
Solo, yeah.
Solo, right? They start attacking kind of the old guys of the Nightmare family. Cody, Dustin, Lee Johnson, kind of the established guys that have been there. Billy Gunn, the Gun Club. And they're attacking them as QT has his back turned to the whole thing. And then you start to understand, like, oh, these are the trainees that have been working with QT. And
these are the misfit toys.
Exactly. And then QT turns around and he has kind of a different look in his face. And then they just beat the crap out of these guys. Dustin was busted open. They did a pile driver onto the QT, hit him with a pile driver onto the steel steps, which was awesome. Yeah. So what did you think? And, what do you think moving forward where we might be going with this new stable of,
Initially, my thoughts were I'm not totally invested in a QT Marshall-led faction, but I like where they're going using the younger guys, if that makes sense. Like, I like that they're using an established guy like QT, an older guy, along with Solo, Ogogo, Comoroto. And Comoroto looks $1 million also.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
he's like a mid-80s.
Well, I was just going to say that he reminds me, and I don't mean this as like the level of the character, but you see him and he reminds me of like a Hercules or like a Berserker or like those type of just big, like he looks like you said he belonged in the early 90s, late 80s. Just he looks awesome. I've liked him since the first time, like the look since the first time I saw him. And
look, it's another one that NXT had. Perfect. But anyway, so this was fine for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. Because the whole thing I haven't been invested in from the start. Yeah. Like, it's QT Marshall and Cody, like, really? Yeah. So this was a little out of left field. But what annoyed me the most about this is we touched on it before. If you don't watch Dark and Dark Elevation, a lot of this was maybe foreign to you. Yeah. And the commentators didn't do anything to try and explain it. So if you're just a Dynamite watcher, this might have been a little left field. So it might not have made a ton of sense. Yeah. But all in all, if you're a hardcore fan and you watch everything, this made a ton of sense. And this was really, really well done.
Yeah, I thought. That's the thing I would say is I thought it was very well done. I think it was unexpected. Obviously, I never would have envisioned that QT Marshall would be leading a faction at any point in AEW. I just assumed he would mainly be a behind the scenes guy that had a match occasionally or was in a tag team like what he had with Dustin and stuff like that. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm excited to see where it goes, but I'm definitely intrigued. I would like to see where it goes. And I think those three young guys, like I believe Ogogo was like a medalist in like kickboxing, or like he has a legit background, or so
he's got a legit boxing background.
Boxing, that's right.
He won a bronze medal in boxing, I think. So
yeah, so
like that left hand to the gut, like that's. You can sell that because he's a legit boxer. That's legit gonna hurt.
Oh yeah. So definitely intriguing to see where they go with it. I did like the one thing. I know you said that commentary didn't sell it a ton, which I agree with, but I did like how Excalibur said that when Lee Johnson got that big win a while ago in the tag team match, he thanked everybody but QT Marshall. And he said that as QT Marshall put his foot on Lee Johnson's face and kind of stepped over him, like, you don't matter to me. Type of thing. So I thought that was the one instance in which they did a callback where it was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But as far as the rest of the guys, like you said, and I think that's going to be a theme and something that they'll need to work on moving forward is like, hey, how do we lump in enough information for those people that don't watch Elevation and Dark so they at least have an idea of what is going on when we're doing a big angle, because this is a big angle. This involves Cody. Cody's one of the main guys. Like, this is a big angle, and it's going to probably be leading up to, who knows, maybe Double or Nothing in May. So, maybe. It would be a little more clarification of like how we fully got here, I think would help the regular person that just watches for 2 hours every Wednesday,
Absolutely.
All right. Then we had out back in the back, we had another promo with Scorpio Sky, and this time he was joined by Ethan Page. And they said that they were the faces of the Revolution or Revelation, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they have a match on Elevation this coming Monday against the Seidels. I like both these guys. I've liked Scorpio Sky from the jump. He was the one that I wanted to win that brass ring ladder match, and I'm glad he did. I am all for a tag team with these guys. These are two guys that I like a lot. How do you feel about them potentially being a tag team moving forward?
I got no problem with it. Like, yeah, sign me up. If you've got nothing for them singularly, put them in a team that is just pissed off at the man, basically. And let them wreak havoc. Why not?
Yeah, I agree.
We know how good Ethan Page is in a tag team.
Oh, yeah.
We just saw it fresh out of Impact. He was tag champ for a year.
Oh, yeah.
Scorpio Sky was the first tag champion. So, the tag division is stacked already.
Yeah.
Let's just add more talent to it.
You might as well. Right? Yeah, and you have 3 shows now that are all pretty decent in length. Like Dark and Elevation run longer than Dynamite most weeks. So you have all this time to, why not make them a tag team, get them on TV, get them in these vignettes where we know they matter. They might not be solo guys now, but these guys are going to be solo stars in the future, single
For
guys.
sure.
So why not just get them on TV, get them wins, throw them in that picture. Like you said, we both know these guys are 2 top tier talents. So it's better to have them on TV together than not have them on TV at all. So
and that's the beauty of the Dark and the Elevation shows. Like, even if people don't watch it, you look at their records, you see, or you look at the results, you see that they may be on there and they may rack up the wins, and then they're on Dynamite and they're 6-0. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
So that's the way to do it.
I agree. All right, then we have Red Velvet out back getting interviewed, and Cargill shows up, attacks her, throws her into the soundboard there, and basically repeats what she said in the interview earlier. Like, I told you, I'm that woman, I'm that bitch. And so they're definitely continuing with the Red Velvet Cargill. I see a one-on-one match, just the 2 of them, maybe on Dynamite next week. Maybe they save it a little longer for a bigger event. Who knows? But I think that they're going to continue that going forward until they want to move Cargill up to, be involved in the women's title picture, I would think, at some point.
Yeah, my only fear with this is, and I've got no problem with them rehashing it because the other one was a mixed tag, but just don't 50-50 this.
We're going to get
have Cargill go ever clean, build Red Velvet up again. That's fine, no problem. Just don't give Velvet the win over Cargill, because then it just becomes convoluted and weird. But yeah, I've got no problem with it otherwise.
Yeah. Then we have a John Moxley promo. I love this promo. I love everything that Moxley does. I feel like he's so, I'm not going to think of the word, but he's so, it just feels like, oh my God, yeah. It just feels like it's so natural to him. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of pacing back there. He's saying he's in a foul mood. He's pissed off. He says he can hear the snap of Eddie Kingston's ankle from the chairs that the Good Brothers did. He said he calls out the Young Bucks. He says, I don't know what side you're on, but I know I still owe you, and that pisses me off that I owe you. It was short, it was sweet, but I thought, it's Moxley being Moxley, and he's just near the top of the wrestling world. He is in my 1A discussion for best thing going. Like, what are your opinions on this as far as this little promo was?
Say what you want about the PWI 500, but when you're named number 1, that's a big deal. Moxley wasn't number 1 because he's no good. Moxley's always money, whether it's on the stick, backstage promo, in the ring. Must see always for mine. He is the epitome of elevates. His promos have elevated since he's become, I say unhinged, but he's not scripted anymore. He says it how he wants to say it. And that's just golden for him. He's not restricted. But yeah, I don't know where they're going with this whole Moxley, Good Brothers, Omega stuff and the Bucks. Yeah,
I don't either. I mean, I would love personally, I want Moxley and Kingston to be tag champs at some point. Like, that's what I want. Like, if you're, that would be, I feel like the obviously they kept it going, but I felt like with the last match, I know the ending was a dud, but I felt like that was or should have been, or was going to be the original end of Omega and Moxley. I just think the ending was so not great that they were like, all right, we're going to try to figure out something how to properly end this feud maybe, or something like that. So they've kind of kept it going. It's been entertaining and it's been great. So I'm not complaining that it's still going on, but like I don't really know how long we're going to keep going with Moxley and Omega. Yeah. I could watch those guys fight all day, every day. But at the same time, like at some point they got to break away from each other. I feel like that's been a feud that's been happening since AEW has started. You know, when Moxley debuted, he took out Omega, so like this has been the feud that's been keeping on going the whole time. So at some point, both guys got to go in the directions that they're going,
We're now April. Double or Nothing's in what, 5 and a bit weeks?
5, 6 weeks, something like that.
They've got to start figuring out what they're going to do with Kenny and the AEW World Title.
100%.
Like,
and
he's got a match against Rich Swann for the Impact World Title in 4 weeks. Double or Nothing is not long after that.
No.
So what are they doing? I don't know. It's a little weird to me.
Yeah.
I initially thought Mox and Kingston might beat the Good Brothers and then go on to win the Impact Tag titles, but
that would have been good.
They then lost the Impact Tag titles, and so now I really don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then we got Moxley versus Cesar Bononi in a match. This was at first I was like, oh, this is going to be a squash match. That's what I assumed. But it went a little longer. I think, and I kind of touched on it last week because he was in a similar type match, but Bononi is such a physical presence and he's such a big guy that even though I agree with you, I think Moxley should have handled him a little bit quicker, but they added the guys around ringside. Nemeth was out there and JD Drake. So it was really a lot of the match. It felt like it was 3-on-1 kind of. They were doing things shady behind the ref, tripping Moxley. So that added into it too. Like, Moxley had to overcome 3 guys instead of 1 kind of. So I think it made some sense for the match to be a tad longer just because of those extra things involved. But at the end of the day, Moxley in his promo said he was going to, one thing that he did say in the promo that I thought was funny is he complimented Bononi in the promo, and he was like, oh man, looks like $1 million, but he ain't going to earn you any money if I kill him. And he was, which I thought was hysterical.
So
I thought it was hysterical.
So good.
Like if I kill him, then you could tell, like, because of the Moxley character, you're like, he would 100% kill this guy. Like that, you just believe it,
crazy.
But he said he's going to choke him out. He ends up choking him out. And one thing that I did want to point out is the facial expression on Bononi when he was getting choked out, I thought was excellent. Like he looked like a guy that was literally passing out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes you don't see that all the time. And I think facial expressions and things like little things like that make it seem so much more real and make you buy in so much more. Like, oh man, he's really getting choked out. He's going to sleep right now.
Yeah, that ending was crisp. Like he went for the pump handle, Moxley straight into the sleeper. It was crisp. It was really good. And as you said, the facials were quality. Yeah, like he copped a bit of stick the other week for that spot in the dark match with Luchasaurus.
Oh yeah.
It should have been edited out. Whatever, it happened. Blah blah blah. So it was good to see him, just move past that with a true professional.
Oh yeah.
Get the reps in on a TV on TV. And went off without a hitch. Should have ended quicker, yes, but
I think so.
Beggars can't be choosers. They made it make sense. Yeah. Cool.
So we get a quick little thing backstage with Team Taz. Basically, Taz saying that everything is still fine in the group. Ricky Starks is saying it felt like old times when they had that tag team match. I believe it was on Dark it felt like old times, and he was doing the fake little thumbs up. You could tell that he hates every second of it. Yeah. And he asks Cage what's going on, and Cage stands up, and you can kind of tell that Cage is going to get ready to be like, I'm not with this anymore. But Taz kind of simmers everything down. They settle down, and Taz goes, we're stronger than ever. And that was it. I thought it was good for what it was. It was quick. Yeah. I still think it's a little too early to break these guys up. That's my personal preference. But I mean, I'm all for Cage becoming a destructive monster one way or the other. Like, he can do so much in the ring, and he's such a physical presence, then I'm okay with it. I just think, I think this is something that could have gone a little bit longer. I feels like they're kind of breaking them up out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah, they might go the slow burn. I'm not too sure, but yeah, if this means we get Lucha Underground Cage back, happy days. The only thing that concerns me is you've got Cage. It seems he's going to break out. He's going to become, this destructive singles monster, and they're going to build him back up, which is cool. I just hope they don't do it at the hindrance of Starks, Hobbs, and Hook. Starks is money. Hobbs is money. Hook's developing, and
Hook's still young. Yeah, so you don't know. Yeah.
He'll be fine, but I hope that they don't elevate Cage again at the hindrance of Hobbs and Starks, because all three of those guys are money.
Oh yeah,
whether it's together, apart, whatever, it's all money for me.
Oh yeah, Ricky Starks is going to be, and I love Hobbs too, but Ricky Starks to me is going to be a main event caliber guy for them for
He's
a
total
long
package.
He can talk. He looks like $1 million. He can go in the ring amazingly.
Sure.
Like that guy's got all of it. And it's young into his AEW career. I understand that, but like you said, like it's cool. Cage is going to leave that first blow off match. He kind of, whether he runs through all of them or it's just really him and Starks, like I'm all for it. But like you said, like I don't want Starks and Hobbs, but specifically Starks. I don't want them to take a couple steps backwards because of this. Like I want them to still be going, because Starks is going to be the future of this. He's one of those guys that's the future of the company.
They need to find a way to blow this off and have everyone sort of level pegging.
All right. So then we head backstage and we have the Pinnacle. MJF, he's talking about the gift that he has for the Pinnacle. He's got a guy there that opens up a thing. They got all different color suits and ties. He's saying, we're going to look like $1 million. Not only are we $1 million, we're going to look like $1 million. He's talking about how he has an interior decorator so they can update the office back there, which he referred to as a dump. And then he goes, and we can finally, and he kind of turns around. There's a bathroom there. He goes, we can finally get rid of this hideous bathroom. Opens the door, and you have Proud and Powerful and Jericho in the bathroom, and I love it. MJF just pretends he never even saw it, just shuts the door. Just shuts the door, turns around. He's like, we got to get the hell out of here.
We got to get out of here.
We got to get out of here. So then they start to go. They open the door to leave the office, and Hager and Guevara are there, and then it's just mayhem. And I thought this was fun. It was quick. It was what it was. Inner Circle hadn't been around since the beatdown a few weeks ago. I thought it was a great thing for them. I like how they paired them off. Like Sammy and Spears were doing their own thing, and Sammy slammed the door on Spears' head. Then they had Hager and Wardlow, which they have a little bit of a history, and him putting them through the table. Then you had Proud and Powerful and FTR, which I could watch those guys have a tag match all the time. And it looked like, I believe it was Dax. He took he was bleeding all over the place. So I don't know what hit him or what happened there, but he looked like it was nasty. He was covered in blood.
Wasn't good.
Yeah. And then they cycled back, and obviously, the two centerpieces, MJF and Jericho, are going at it. And Jericho throws MJF through the Pepsi, the soda dispenser. And he goes, oh yeah. And he goes, this is our dressing room, bitch. And he throws MJF out of the dressing room, and all the guys go in there, and they put the little Inner Circle sticker over the Pinnacle one, and they kind of regained their territory. So I thought, what were your opinions on it? I liked it. I like all of these guys, all 10 of them. I like them all. I think they're two great groups. I know the Pinnacle's brand new, but they in the 2 weeks they've been together, just awesome. Horseman vibes, 80s faction vibes for me. MJF is perfect. Like that whole group is put together perfectly. And the Inner Circle has been the main group of AEW since its inception, basically. I think we're heading towards blood and guts at Double or Nothing with this. But yeah, what are your opinions on it?
Yeah, I reckon you might be right. 5-on-5, gang warfare seems to be where we're headed with it. And I'm fine with that. That's totally cool because, blood's already been spilt. We're only 2 weeks into this.
Yeah, and it's been brutal.
Dax or whichever one it was, his head was leaking. So
yeah, that was
Yeah. Again, I don't know what hit him. I don't know what it was from, but yeah, it was leaking. One thing I did pick out was there was a Jericho Michaels throwback. Just as he's about to throw him through the Pepsi fridge, he goes, "The worst is yet to come." That's the same thing he said to Michaels when he threw him through the Geritron.
Yes, that is a good call. I did not pick that up. That is a really good call out. Yes.
Yeah. So Jericho's always, he's got a massive trick bag, and he's always going to lean into it, which is cool. As you said, I like the pairing off of people. Sammy and Spears, that's going to be good when it happens. Proud and Powerful versus FTR is going to be amazing when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
Jericho and MJF, we've seen it already, but it's going to be a touch different this time, which is fine. But yeah, this worked for me. It was short, sharp, to the point, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Then we get the Young Bucks backstage, and Don Callis kind of interrupts Marvez during their interview. And he tells Marvez to leave, and he tells Nick Jackson, he calls him a heartthrob, I believe. He was like, "You heartthrob." He's like, "Get out of here, a pretty boy." He called him something like that. Nick leaves, and it's really just Callis and Matt Jackson here. And Callis reiterates what Omega said last week. He says, he made a choice on you guys. He made a choice on AEW. He could have stayed in Japan where everyone loved him, and he was rich and the champion and all this. And he just kind of calls Matt out, and he says, "Where's your integrity?" And he goes, "Where's the Matt that I knew back then that would do anything?" And he calls Matt, and it kind of ends with him calling Matt pathetic and Callis walking off. And obviously Callis slapped Matt across the face. That was the big deal there. He goes, "Where's the Matt that used to, be this angry guy that would do whatever to succeed?" And then he goes, "I don't know how to get through to you. Like, I don't know how to get through to you." And he just slaps him right across the face, and Matt doesn't do anything. And then that's what leads Callis to being like, "Look at you. You didn't even do anything. Like, you're pathetic." And he just kind of walks off. And then that led into the 6-man tag that we had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers against the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. What were your opinions on these 6-man tag here?
Well, the promo, I don't know. I honestly didn't know what to make of the promo for starters. It was I don't know. It was weird. Honestly, I don't know what to make. I don't know what they were trying to achieve with it. I really don't know. So, but the 6-man tag was fun. It was, again, not going to win any match of the year, awards, but for what it was, you had the hard hitting style mixed with the lucha style, which meshed well. Gallows and Anderson were able to ground Laredo Kid. Then the lucha guys, they're always going to make a comeback, get their stuff in. At the end of the day, right result, right guy pinning the right guy.
Yeah.
Lucha Bros don't look bad in defeat because they got their stuff in.
Yeah.
One thing that stuck out before the match in picture was Lucha Bros saying they're coming after the titles. So once Parker comes back from injury, I don't know how long he's actually out, but it seems as if him and Phoenix, who are the number 1 contenders for the tag titles, will go after that. And it seems Pentagon might have his eyes on Kenny. So maybe that's where we're going to head at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I feel like we've come to expect such great matches from guys like Omega and guys like the Lucha Brothers. And, I know Laredo Kid had just come back last week. So, like, he's kind of the newer one of the trio. I mean, you know him if you watch, AAA and other stuff like that. But so it's good to see him involved too. But, like, Rey Fenix is just amazing. You can't say enough good things about him. So I almost feel like when you see a match like this, like you said, like, was it the best match they've ever had? No. But we've come so accustomed to the greatness of these matches that I feel like you run out of things to say when every week these guys just continue to have bangers every single week. You know what I mean? So, but I thought it was what it was. Like, everyone got all their shit in. Everyone looked like $1 million, even the guys that lost. But it was just a fun, it wasn't a long match. It was more of a sprint. Like, once they kind of picked it up after the commercial, picture in picture, and it was thoroughly entertaining. And then afterwards, you have Mox kind of coming out on the stage and kind of staring down Omega and the Good Brothers, and he's by himself, and he starts slowly walking to the stage. And again, because he is Moxley,
Yeah.
you kind of have this built in your brain that you're like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he'll go in there and just take on all three of them because he does not care, you know? And that's so they kind of are teasing that. The announcers were doing good. And then the Young Bucks came out and they kind of stood aside but beside Moxley, and the three of them get in the ring. And as they do, the Good Brothers and Omega kind of haul ass out of there, kind of get away. And then they announced that next week on Dynamite, there will be a 6-man tag. It'll be Moxley and the Bucks versus the Good Brothers and Omega. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it when the match actually happens, but do you think this will just be a normal 6-man, or do you see the Bucks maybe screwing Moxley and joining back with the Elite, or do you think they're going to kind of stay separate?
I honestly see Omega in that winning. I think they'll pin the Bucks. And whether that leads to the Good Brothers versus the Bucks down the line, I would say so. But for me, I want the Good Brothers to haul ass back to bloody Impact. And I want the Bucks as heels with the titles with Kenny. Heel Elite. It worked in Japan. Bring it to TV. I don't understand why they wouldn't bring it to TV. For me, that's where the money is. How they get there, if they get there, I don't know. But yeah, the match next week will be good. What happens? I don't know, but that's the best. That's the best part. The best thing AEW do on a weekly basis. They keep me guessing.
I agree. All right, then we have another tag match after that. We have Hikaru Shida and Ty Conti against Nyla Rose and the Bunny, and they were joined by Matt Hardy and crew at the ring. Hardy says that they cut a little promo beforehand, and Hardy says that Bunny has been overlooked and she wasn't in that women's tournament. And people in Matt Hardy's crew, I think he gave them a new name, but I'm drawing a blank on it. I'm sorry. But he said
they called him House Hardy brand at some point. I don't know whether that's sticking.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like an abbreviated name of some sort. I honestly don't remember. But he kind of says that Bunny and his crew are tired of being overlooked, and that, you know, they're going to make sure that they end up where they belong, near the top of the card. I thought this match was good. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought Conti, the last 2 weeks specifically, looked great. Her speed in the ring, her striking, her judo throws, all that stuff looks great. And I don't know, I know you had kind of mentioned earlier that we were going to talk about the women. My issue with this, my main issue before I pass it off to you, is I'm all for Bunny being involved in the ring more. I'm all for that. You want to throw her back in the ring. You want to get her involved. You want to make everyone know that, like, she's a presence in the women's division. All for that.
We're going to agree 100% here. I already know.
I do not like Ty Conti getting – no. You just made her look like $1 million last week. She upset Nyla Rose, huge upset out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is a new person in the women's division that we need to pay attention to. Number one contender. Like, I think she was 11-0 or like something like that. She had a great record. Like, this is a person we need to care about. And then the very next week, yes, I understand there was a distraction by Vicky and there was the kendo stick. I get it. But no, that does not work for me. That does not work for me. And I know you're agreeing with me, so I'll kind of let you go and add on what you want to say. But that was the thing
100%.
that stuck out to me the most. I was like, what? That is 50. Don't do that. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, it was the biggest elephant in the room on the night.
Yeah.
For me, like, I don't know. The match was fine, but then they overbooked this to death. You had 3/4 of the locker room out there before the match even started. Ty Conti's not even officially Dark Order, and they still come out. And then you have, you know, the Bunny or Ali, whatever you want to call her. She's a former Impact Women's Champion. She's no mug. But for the AEW hardcore fan that's probably never seen her in Impact, she's done nothing. Don't put her over your number one contender. I don't care if it's a distraction. I don't care if it's a kendo shot. I don't care. Don't do it. Don't book yourself into that position. It's silly.
Yeah.
It makes her look so weak, and Yeah, you can sugarcoat it if you like.
I mean, we don't have, I don't think we have to. Like, I thought, all in all, I thought it was a good match. Like I said, I'm fine with, like you said, wrestling fans, most people that are probably watching AEW know some of Bunny or Allie's history. Like, she's a former champion, she's good. Like, I just feel like you did so well in building Conti as someone who mattered last week. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden it's 2 steps backwards. And it's like, okay, well, she looked like $1 million and upset the person that you've made look like the most dominant woman on the roster since the company started. She beat her clean, clean last week. Mm-hmm. And now she's losing her very next match that we see on Dynamite. You know what I mean? And it didn't sit well with me. Again, they can easily make it up and make her have another great win next week. And I'm sure everything will be fine in the long run. That's fine. And I like Conti a lot. I think she's looked great these last few weeks.
Improved so much even this year. She, last year she was on an upward curve, but this year it's, almost vertical, her rise.
Yeah.
Business will resume next week. She goes one-on-one with the Bunny.
Yeah.
She'll win.
Yeah.
If she loses that,
if she loses that, that's gonna we're gonna have something where I think we'll get even a little angrier next week,
it might be angry wrestling website, but just don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, that was the thing that stuck out to me too, that I was just like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Like, they've shown a track record of being smarter and better than that as a company when it comes to stuff like that. But it's just like, you don't want to run down that 50-50 rabbit hole. Like, that's just that's how you get people not to be invested. And it's
correct.
Just, All right. Then we get up to our main event. We have the Arcade Anarchy. We got Kip Sabian and Miro against Chucky and Orange Cassidy. This ended up being really fun. There were some big things that happened throughout the match that I am very excited for and very happy to see a few people back, specifically both of them, but specifically one of them, which I'll ask for your opinions and kind of have you talk us through it. But, I thought it kind of started off, as it should. I thought the power bomb from Sabian to Chucky on top of the Legos, I thought was a cool spot. I thought it was a nice, we've seen it a few times, but I think it was a nice alternative to the thumbtacks that you see that bag and you're like, oh God, here we go.
Plus,
and for the Legos,
like last week before, then
exactly. But I'll let you kind of take it away. What were your opinions on the Arcade Anarchy?
Well, in my notes here, this match had a whack-a-mole spot, a prize wall, the return of someone who thinks she's an alien out of a claw machine, an air hockey table break with a Michinoku driver off the apron, a powerbomb onto Lego, a mum dropping off her returning son in a minivan. But let's not forget that Kip Sabian, before the match even started, tried to insert money into a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine.
Yes, he did.
This is 2021 pro wrestling.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. I can't even begin to describe to anyone who doesn't watch it what I just read out.
Yeah, I fully agree. I thought it was so fun. I loved the whack-a-mole. I loved all the video games they incorporated in it. I thought, that great shot of Orange Cassidy and Chucky kind of crawling away after they're trying to, they just got the crap kicked out of them by Miro, who I thought, even though they ended up losing the match, I thought Miro looked strong as hell throughout the whole match. He looked great. You see them crawling away, and then you see the 2 headlights, and they're getting closer and closer. And then when you realize who it is, and you're like, oh, that's Sue. And Sue is just, Sue's over, man.
I didn't like that Tony Schiavone mentioned it.
He mentioned it before you saw her.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her, and then he'd be like, oh, it's Sue. And I'm like, is that Sue? And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah. So you see Sue.
It was still good. It was still just so good.
Oh, yeah. And then I love Trent. I've been a big fan of Trent since his WWE days. So, to have him back and he's been gone, I think that just adds. The Best Friends are a great tag team. He looked great.
He looks jacked.
I think he's a single star. I think he's a tag star. I think they're a trios. Whatever you want to do with those guys are great. Yes. But I wanted to hone in on Statlander for a second.
Yes, please.
I thought the way that she returned was awesome. You know, she came out of the toy crane that made me think immediately of Toy Story with the aliens, because she does play the alien, you know.
You have saved our lives. We're eternally grateful.
Yeah. And then she shoves the screen out and it just crushed Penelope right now. Oh, it was so awesome.
She almost pushed Penelope into the third row.
Yeah. But just in general, I want to talk about her for a few minutes before we switch over to NXT. That is a big jolt in the arm to the – and we've been talking about the women's division throughout the show and how much it's been portrayed in such a better and brighter light the last few month or so. And I think someone like Statlander, who was fighting for the title before she got hurt, like I think inserting her right back into the mix now with a Thunder Rosa and an elevated Britt Baker and all these people. And now you add someone that you had in that main event picture, and she's been gone for so long. I think, you know, I'm very excited about her return. I'm very excited about the women's division and AEW moving forward.
Absolutely. I've been a fan of Statlander since she was wrestling people like John Silver and OC and beyond. Like she's only new to the game theoretically, but she can go. You know, WWE had her there for an enhancement, couple of matches. You know, she ended up in AEW, happy days. But as you said, massive jolt in the arm. Yeah. She can do a lot of things that a lot of women can't. And she will be the beneficiary coming off a long-term injury like her knee. She'll be the beneficiary of shows like Dark and Elevation where she can get those reps back in. And then you push her back over to Dynamite. Seems that she might be feuding with Penelope to get her back into it, and that's fine.
Yep.
And yeah, it looks like they may even be adding her to the best friends crew. And if that's the way they want to head, I'm happy with that too. Because, I mean, I think it kind of works because the best friends are kind of, you know, there's only 3 of them, but they're a ragtag bunch. You know, they're kind of goofy, Orange Cassidy. Yeah, they're a different group. So I think if they do add her in as part of the group, like I think it fits because they're different characters, and she's clearly a different character, being an alien. Well, she's done a few backstage skits with OC on BTE and stuff like that before, and they work well with each other.
Yeah,
so there's no reason why she can't fit in.
Yeah, so I was all for that. I'm very excited to have both her and Trent back. I love the ending scene of Sue giving the thumbs up out of the driver's side window, and all of them are on the corners giving the thumbs up back to her. I thought that was fun. That was a nice little end too.
I did notice Statlander at some point. She stopped giving the thumbs up and she was giving the this one.
Oh, really?
I did notice that. Yeah, I was like, no, she hasn't missed a beat. Look at her go.
Yeah.
But that Michinoku driver was even fluid.
Oh yeah.
Like picked her up, spun on a dime, straight down.
That was awesome. And I thought the running power slam off the stage by Chucky through the table, I thought that was a good way to end it too. It just looked awesome. But like, you know, much like the street fight that the best friends were a part of a while back, like when they do stuff like that, AEW nails it. I think they nail stuff like that. And I thought it was very, very good.
They're not afraid to go balls to the wall. So that's why it always comes off so nice.
I agree. All right, so we can transition over to NXT. This was the go-home show for the biggest takeover, which will be next week, a 2-night, obviously, takeover, stand and deliver. Huge. Yeah. And they even added a couple matches tonight, one in particular that we will talk about.
Yes, they did.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. But so, you know, 2 nights next week, Wednesday and Thursday. We will dive into that card after kind of the review of the show a little bit. But yeah, I thought this show started off with a fantastic match with Roddy Strong and Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes cutting a promo, says he has a new t-shirt, trying to take over the Undisputed Era. They even had the audio of him doing the shock the system, but it's Grimes the system. And you know, Cameron Grimes has been a weekly highlight of mine for a while, but specifically, and I think along with a lot of people, since he's kind of taken the money gimmick where he's the millionaire. It's just been some next level stuff from a character standpoint from him. He is funny, and the match showed that he can clear. He's also a great wrestler. And
been good for a long time. Yeah,
been good for a long time. And Roddy Strong also has been good for a very long time. And he's not going to have a bad match with anybody. So I thought he was a really good opponent for Grimes. I thought it was a huge win for Grimes because he's a former, Roddy Strong's a former champion, undisputed era member. He's a big deal. And I think Grimes getting a win over him is big for Grimes. So what were your initial reactions to this bout in the beginning of NXT?
Yeah, same as you, man. This match was good. It was a good opening. It was probably the match that I preferred opening of the show, Cage, and that was good, but this was better.
I agree.
From a in-ring standpoint. Grimes getting under Roddy's skin before the match. There was a good touch. You could tell that the UE stuff just cuts Roddy really, really deep.
Yeah.
So playing into that over the coming weeks is going to be good story progression.
I agree.
These two are so talented.
Yeah, I know. I had written in my notes, I was like, I'm waiting for Roddy to snap. Like, that's what I'm kind of waiting for, right? Like, I feel like that's the build. I know later on, and we'll talk about it now because it was a small thing, but like later on in the show, they showed him walking out of the arena and they were trying to get, ask him where he was going. And I believe he said, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm done. Yeah. So that's cool. But like, I think you can just tell like in his facial expressions that he's just done with it. He's heartbroken about the Undisputed Era. He doesn't have answers and it's weighing on him. And you can tell he looked like somebody that hadn't slept in a week. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just knowing that we might be heading to him just kind of snapping and losing his mind a little bit and just turning into just this psycho guy that just ruins everybody. I think that's a cool way they can go with him because he is just next level in the ring. He's a great wrestler. He's been doing it for a long time. I would like him to matter in the singles realm. Now that Undisputed Era obviously is no more,
Yeah, former NHM. Like, what more can you say?
Exactly.
I did put here in my notes, hopefully he has a meltdown and it leads to him becoming like the ROH full-blown version of himself. Yeah. Where he was the true messiah of the backbreaker. Like, bring that to me all day long. Mm-hmm. He is, give it to me.
Yeah. All right, then we have a package with Karrion Kross, and it shows him doing some mixed martial arts training and talking about what his strengths are and how he's going to cut off the ring to Balor, and Balor is going to try to run around and try to get Kross to lose breath and stuff like that. But Kross is like, nope, not going to work. Like, I'm going to destroy you. And every time I hit you, you're going to see lights flashing. I thought it was, this, and we're going to talk about it because they even did one better later on in the show. These vignettes and these things, this is where WWE is at their best, in my opinion. Obviously, the matches are great. Booking, from time to time, depending on what shows you watch. But yeah. Doesn't matter the show, doesn't matter whatever. These vignettes, video packages, top quality, always have been. And I just thought we had a lot of them throughout this night building to TakeOver, and I thought all of them were excellent. But I thought this Kross one, besides one that we'll talk about a little later, I thought this one was really good.
I didn't quite enjoy it as much as you obviously did. I don't know. Something about Karrion Kross just doesn't excite me, and I don't know why. It never has, probably never will. And it doesn't help that his opponent at TakeOver also does not interest me in the slightest.
All right, cool. We will.
Look, I get that he wants to get back what he never lost. That's fine. He could have had a little bit more intensity in his promo for me. Okay. But yeah, the video package itself was fine. It just didn't get me any more excited for the match than I already was. So
then we go from that to a Walter vignette, basically saying that Ciampa has a lot more on his mind nowadays than just wrestling, and all Walter cares about is wrestling. He mentions, the Ciampa neck injury. He mentions his family and things like that, and he questions his dedication. Basically, I thought this was, for what it was, I thought this was good too. I'm super excited for this match. This match is one of my standouts for next week that I'm very much looking forward to. But I thought it was simple, quick. I thought it did what it had to do. Basically,
it served the purpose, and that's all it needed to do.
Yeah,
this match sells itself. So,
I think so.
Happy days.
Yeah. Then we had Santo Escobar and Raul Mendoza and Joaquin in the ring, and Santos is cutting a promo saying that he is the true cruiserweight champion, and next week at TakeOver and the ladder match against Devlin, he's going to prove that. And he issues an open challenge which at first I thought was going to be for the Cruiserweight title. That's where I thought they were going there, the open challenge, just to kind of prove that he was the best champion.
I thought it was.
I thought it was too. And then Tyler Breeze answers the call, which I love Tyler Breeze. I've always been a fan of Tyler Breeze. I didn't know, is Fandango injured, or is this just kind of a one-off that they were just like,
I believe Fandango might be injured again.
Okay. Yeah, I know. He's had an unfortunate string of health since they've kind of give him the ball, unfortunately. But Tyler Breeze, NXT original, NXT, he's still considered, an OG original down there. Yeah. And one thing that I did write in my notes, because, I remember when I first started watching NXT, Tyler Breeze was, he had a match with Jushin Thunder Liger, for crying out loud. Like, he was considered the guy that they could trust to go out there and have a great match with anybody,
Jushin asked for Breeze.
Yes. Which is, that tells you all you need to know in itself,
Yeah, absolutely.
So I kind of wrote down, like, what could have been with Tyler Breeze if he never would have went up to the main roster? Maybe he stayed down in NXT for a little longer. Like, would he have been NXT heavyweight champion if he would have stayed down there? Like, I feel like he's been doing the tag team thing. He's had a good career, but we went to the main roster and he was one of the casualties of that we see too often, where they go to the main roster, they don't really have a plan, and he just kind of got, lost in the shuffle there.
I think he still would have got lost in the shuffle at NXT because you had Owens, Bella, Nakamura, Bobby Roode, McIntyre, Andrade. They all came through sort of at the same time. So, look, he was part of what I consider probably one of the best NXT TakeOver main events, the Fatal 4-Way way back when.
I loved it. Yeah.
I watched it not too long ago. It still stacks up. It's so good. I thought that was his era. That was his sort of time to shine. But look, if he had stayed there, he would have had consistent matches, but I don't think he would have became champion. Yeah, I don't think he would have become champion, no.
So Escobar ends up getting the win. And then after the match, we see Legado del Fantasma get in the ring. They start to look like they're going to attack Breeze. And then MSK come out for the save. And they run Escobar and the crew run off. And then we get a promo from Zach Gibson on the screen, who I could listen to that guy talk all the time.
All day.
He's so good. Such a good promo. And they basically say that next week they're going to win that tag match. They're going to be the titles, and that both those teams need to be on notice because they're the team that's going to walk away from TakeOver as the champions. I thought it was good. The match with Breeze I thought was solid, but I thought it was the aftermath kind of set up that triple threat match, which should be great. And I thought it was quick. It got the point across. Gibson is a great promo, so he can talk. I think he can talk you into a match anytime he talks.
It's a loss to Escobar, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed what they did there. I thought it was, like I said, and again with NXT, I think tonight nothing crazy happened, but it was just a solid build to next week, Yeah. All right. Then after that, we had a tag match with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell against Zeta Ramir and Gigi Dolan. This was relatively quick. It was a showcase for Candice and Indy. And we see why afterwards. So Candice and Indy get the win. I thought the springboard elbow drop from Indy to end it, I thought looked really nice, really crisp. Candice cuts a promo after, basically calling out Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, and says that they're coming for the tag team titles and that nobody deserves a championship in the NXT women's division more than her. I don't disagree with her there. I think she's right. And then they also announced that next week, at TakeOver, I believe it will be on, I think it's night 2. I'm not sure which night, but they announced that Indy and Candice will be facing Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon for the titles. At the end of that, Shotzi and Ember did come out on the tank. They basically cut it was an all right promo, basically saying that they're not going to win and that they're here and they're the champs and they're going to reign supreme. And then it was very standard. And then Shotzi shot the little thing of the tank at Indy Hartwell. Nothing happened. I don't know what that was about. Like, there was no reaction or anything like that. I don't know. That part of it was kind of for me. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good match. I would like to see Candice and Indy win. I know Shotzi and Ember just got those titles, but I want to see Candice with a belt, and I want to see Candice doing more because she's fantastic and I love her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think the match will be good. But I think this was some standard fare, kind of just promoting a match for next week, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can always tell it's going to be a showcase when one of the teams doesn't get an introduction.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, this was always just designed to get them a win. Yeah, it was good that Indy got the pin instead of Candice.
Yes.
Yeah, the match is set. I cringe every time Shotzi comes out. She howls. She doesn't say a whole lot. It's just drone.
Yeah.
Please don't talk. But yeah, look, the match will be good. Ember and Shotzi in ring can both go.
Oh yeah.
Candice is top notch.
I agree.
And Indy is getting a lot better.
Yeah, and I think Indy being paired with Candice, like, who else are you going to learn better from? You know what I mean? Like, that's one of those things where it's like she's already getting better. You can see the difference in Hartwell than when she first showed up and when she was kind of used as enhancement talent. But getting to work weekly with Candice and even Gargano in that group, like, her and Austin Theory are going to learn a lot about professional wrestling from being paired with those two. Well,
Austin Theory, he fell, backwards into a pool of gold. He, was pushed up to the main roster, got put with Seth Rollins, had some indiscretions, rightly or wrongly, depending on which way you want to look at it, and was pushed back down to NXT, and now he's alongside, one of the best NXT talents, arguably ever.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, if they're not going to learn anything from those two, they're never going to learn anything. So,
yeah. And then backstage, we have Io confronting. So Dakota Kai and Raquel are walking to the ring because Raquel was set to face Zoe Stark. And Io confronts Raquel and says, "You cannot kill me. I will not die." And they just start brawling in the back. This will become a theme. We'll talk about this throughout the night. But this was the first brawl in the back, to which Raquel got the upper hand. And then she kind of walks off. And then another thing that we see is we see a dog. We see a dog scampering out front, just showing up at the Performance Center. At first, the first time I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. That's just a dog. Great. All right. But this will, and then later on, they showed the dog running through the Performance Center. And then finally, we see the dog show up at the bottom of the Titantron it shows some bright pink boots. And it says April 13th, which is the debut of NXT moving to Tuesdays. It'll be a debut, and it was signed by Frankie. It's Taya Valkyrie. I'm almost positive. I think that's who it is. Yeah. I did not watch a ton of Impact. Did she have a dog? Was the dog part of the gimmick in Impact, or is that a new thing they're doing here?
I believe so.
All right, yeah.
Apparently her and Morrison do have a dog, and they love it to death. Yeah. But as far as I'm aware, no, the dog was not a theme in Impact, no.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, regardless of I thought it was fine. It was layered throughout the show. It was fine, but I'm excited to see her in NXT, and I'm excited to see her as part of that women's roster. She's fantastic. So I think, whatever gimmick you want to do, or whatever you want to call her, all well and good. She's a positive being there now. So
good talents will always find a way to make it work.
Yep, 100%. So then we do get the Zoe Stark versus Raquel Gonzalez match. I'll let you go first. What were your opinions on this match?
The match was fine. I don't know why Gonzalez was selling so much for Stark. Yeah. Stark, she's looked good in her a couple of matches she's had against Io and whatever else, but Gonzalez is a week out from the biggest match of her career in a takeover main event on WrestleMania weekend, which is arguably the biggest show they've ever had. And she sold so much in this match. This didn't have to be this long. It was good that she got the win, but for me, Dakota even got involved. It didn't need to be what this was. I would have preferred a more dominant victory for someone heading in, and basically for someone who's the heir apparent to the women's throne.
I would agree. I know they've really position Zoe Stark to be someone that you need to keep your eye on.
For sure.
She's been wrestling, I think, 3 or 4 matches, and she's looked great in all of those matches. I just think maybe you should have picked a different opponent for Raquel the week before. I personally think she's probably going to win the women's title. So, she could have, wrestled a low, like, why don't you throw her in there with like someone like Aaliyah or someone just different like that, who she can destroy in 2 or 3 minutes, and it's not going to matter. I understand putting Zoe Stark up there with that caliber of talent because you are very clearly saying that she's in the next crop of important women in the division.
Yep.
That's fine. But at the same time, like you said, she's a week away from her crowning moment, it feels like.
Yeah.
And her getting worn down for 5 or 6 minutes in a match, regardless of the caliber of opponent, like she needs to, and they made up for it a little bit as we get to her towards the end of the show, but like she should be looking like $1 million throughout the whole show because she's the one who, for my money, is going to be walking out of night 1 as the champion, So
it wasn't a good visual for the match aesthetic.
Yeah. And for me, as far as Zoe Stark goes, I think she has looked great. Her speed is, she's got very quick in the ring. She's got some good knees, some good strikes, but the issue with me is, and you can look good in losing, and I think she has for the most part.
Still need to win at some point.
That's what I was going to say. Like I wrote in my notes, like she continues to look good, but she needs to win a match.
Yeah.
I would rather have her. I would have rather have had this match turned into 2 quick matches, and you could have had Raquel beat someone like Aaliyah or whoever, or Zoe beat someone like Aaliyah. So you have Raquel dominate someone, and then a completely different thing. Zoe gets a win because, we've seen her on the TV screen for the last month, and she's looked like great, but she's not winning matches. So at the end of the day, why am I going to care that much for someone who always loses?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So then after the match, Io comes out again. She confronts Raquel. They start brawling around ringside, and Raquel picks her up and literally just throws her like a rag doll into the plexiglass around the ring. And that kind of ends this part 2. And Raquel kind of walks off. Yeah, the portion of the ongoing battle.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got this prime target on O'Reilly and Adam Cole that I thought was just, it felt like a movie preview to me.
So good.
My God. And again, I know I had said it with the cross one, and I said this was the one that blew it out. Like this right here, like I was watching with a friend who doesn't watch regularly, and during this segment, his eyes were glued to the television. Like this, it showed them pictures of them fighting in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It showed them like younger pictures of them being like friends, like in regular life. And then it obviously went through all the Undisputed Era. And then I loved when they were dubbing in the audio from the contract signing last week.
Yep.
And when Regal was talking about what this company and what this brand is built, and they showed the old guy, like the guys that have been there. They showed, those past moments. They showed Sasha and Bailey. They showed, they showed all former champions. They showed Samoa Joe. They showed Shinsuke. And you could just, I was getting goosebumps. I was like, man, because that was the NXT that we all first fell in love with, was like right before that, leading into that era of NXT, right? So for them to show that history of not only the history of these 2 guys, but the history of the company, like having Regal talking about it, I thought it was a fantastic touch.
Yeah.
This match is going to be, they're going to beat the shit out of each other, unsanctioned. I expect weapons. I expect it all. Yeah. I thought this was one of the better vignettes or things that they've released in a long time. This was fantastic.
Yeah, well, they did a really good job, as you said earlier. Pardon me. Throughout the show, for people that they couldn't get on the show or didn't want to get on the show physically, they did a really good job of throwing in video packages, and this was the peak of the video packages. As you said, this was like a movie. This was box office premiere. This was solid gold. If you weren't sold on this match already and this didn't tip you over the edge, then I I can't help you.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you there. But
I'm without speech if that's the case.
yeah, I mean, I thought the story sold itself before this, but like you said,
Yeah.
you add this into it, and yeah,
Mhm.
like if you're not excited for this, then you're watching the wrong stuff. You're watching the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
All right, then we get a tag match. We had Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro going against what ended up just being Xia Li, but it was supposed to be Xia Li and Mei Ying.
Yeah.
What were your opinions? I know this is kind of I don't mind out of the box thinking and like different characters. I don't know if this one, I'm not against it. I don't hate it. But I don't know if it's checking all the boxes for me yet. But like I said, I like Xia Li. I like Xia Li in the ring too. She's got some cool kicks and strikes, and I just like how they involve her heritage a lot. Like when it comes to her wrestling style and the sword fighting and the things she does. Like I am a fan of hers, and I'm a fan of different stuff when it comes to wrestling. Yeah, what are you thinking about this angle and just what we saw tonight?
I don't know. It's becoming a real slow burn, this Tian Sha stuff, but they're heavily invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Michaels has said it. Triple H has said it numerous times. They are heavily invested in this Tian Sha production, and which is fine. Xia Li, she's up there with Tai Conti in the most improved category.
Oh yeah.
She has elevated herself tremendously. She's putting in the work, and you can tell.
Oh yeah.
She's with Zoe Stark in the next sort of crop.
I think so.
Yeah. Mei Ying, oh, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone who used to be a dragon that's now a fucking 1,000-year-old woman. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I could we're over in America. COVID's not so bad over here right now. So
yeah.
But COVID over in America is still rampant.
Yep.
I could do without
her blowing
1,000-year-old lady vaping in someone's face.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, especially in Florida, there are no rules in Florida, so God forbid. And NXT has had what 3 or 4 breakouts of COVID as the years gone on. Like,
so I could probably do without that part, but the rest of it to me was fine. The choke out thing, that was cool.
Yeah, I think it was like a death grip type of thing, and
I was cool with that. Sort of had her by the sort of like the skinny bit there.
Yeah,
so that was cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I think like you said, they are invested in it. It's not going anywhere. So I do want to see where it goes. I just think like you, it's taken a while to get to where it's going, But yeah, I was, like I said, I don't hate it, but I'm kind of still waiting for where we're going here,
Yeah, I'm probably the same sort of feelings with this as I am with the QT stuff on AEW. I'm not invested. I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that's probably where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So then we got part 3 of Raquel and Io. This time in the back again. Io comes from behind and kind of jumps on top from the back, trying to choke her out a little bit. Raquel regains it and gives her like a double kind of choke through the wall. They go through the wall. It was awesome. It was an awesome spot through the wall. And then the camera kind of runs around and they kind of get the visual of Raquel yelling at Io, stay down, stay down. I thought of everything that happened throughout the night. I thought this was the best segment of what happened. But yeah, I thought her putting her through the wall was just awesome. But this one was another quick, they're just going to beat the crap out of each other. Io's not going to give up. She's a fighting champion. Like, I love everything they're doing with Io. Like, she's the babyface champion, but she chose Raquel because she knows Raquel is the most dangerous one. Like, she wants that fight, and she's not scared. You can knock her down 1,000 times, and she's going to get back up. Like, I just thought as they weaved it through the show, I just thought they did it well. But I thought this one in particular was the best of all the fights throughout the show.
Yeah, I agree. That I would have been happy if this was the ending visual of these two. I get why they did the end that they did, showing the Yo won't die type stuff. But as a visual, this would have been a better fit to lead into their match for mine.
I would agree.
Yeah, people might not agree, but that's just my opinion.
All right. Then we get a vignette of Tommaso Ciampa. And he is this was a good one too. I like this one. I mean, I've always loved Ciampa. So,
Yep.
but yeah, he's talking. He references his 2018 run. He says that a lot of people ask him, how he's changed and he's not the same guy that he was back then. And, he says, yes, he does have more things to care about now. He mentions his daughter. He mentions his wife. He talks about the injury. But he said for everyone that stood by him and his supporters and those people that he knows still support and love him, that the old Ciampa is going to come back next week and it's going to result in him leaving as the NXT UK champion. I thought this was great, short, sweet, to the point. You kind of saw some hints of that crazy psycho. He mentioned Psycho Killer in the promo. I loved it. I loved it.
I'm with you. This is the intensity that I referenced with Cross. This sort of fire and want. That's what I would have liked to see from Cross. We got it from Ciampa. Oh, Ciampa is money when he talks.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm looking for again. If you weren't already sold on Walter and Ciampa, and this didn't tip you over the edge, again, I can't help you.
All right, then we have a Finn Balor vignette. This one, I'll let you go with your opinions of it. I know a little earlier you said you're not really feeling. We can lump this into the discussion of the Cross and Balor match for next week. I have no doubt the match is going to be very good.
Oh, yeah.
But I know you personally have said you're not super interested in it, so I'll kind of let you talk about your thoughts and maybe why you're not so interested in what's going on here.
This version of Balor is much better than when he went to the main roster or his initial NXT run. I think he's got more strings to his bow now, but I just don't long to see him as champion of what has always been dubbed as a developmental brand per se. We know it's not.
Yeah.
Now, I say it to people to annoy people, but we know it's not. It's a third brand. But notoriously, it's always the title's been held by guys who are looking to elevate to the main roster, who have never been there, or are looking to build their own career up. And for me, Finn doesn't need the title. That's something they put on him when they were in a bind, when Cross got injured. They were always going to go back to Cross versus whoever was champion. I know it just doesn't feel WrestleMania weekend worthy for me. Both guys are super talented in the ring. I just don't find them overly entertaining. And that's just me.
I mean,
again, this match is going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
I will watch it. I will enjoy it. No doubt.
Oh, yeah.
I just doesn't, if I look at the cards, it just doesn't jump out at me.
And I think that's the thing for me. Like, I like both guys. I mean, I agree with you when it comes to Finn Balor. I think this is the best Finn Balor we've seen under the WWE umbrella. And I like Cross. I think there's another level of intensity that he can get to, though, that we've seen elsewhere, that they've been kind of they're kind of making him this, like, not quiet, but they're portraying him as this, like, deadly quiet assassin almost. You know what I mean? And that's fine, because he is a presence when you see him. He looks great. He's strong. He looks scary. And the way he wrestles with the catch can and the suplexes and the chokes, like, he wrestles that style where he's a dangerous person. But I do think
Bloodsport style,
exactly. But I do think there is, like, another level of, like, I would like him to be a psycho, for better words. Like, I would like him to be this angry guy that just wants to kill everybody type of thing.
Like, we saw a small chunk of that when he versed Ciampa in your house.
Yes.
That match went for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was brutal.
He just destroyed Ciampa.
Yeah.
Like, he destroyed a former NXT champion.
Yeah.
If I saw more of that in the build,
I
would be like, yes, give this man the title for sure. But the other thing that I keep thinking of in regards to this is if Cross wins, he's going to go to the main roster eventually. He is built. He is a Vince McMahon built person.
Oh yeah.
He is what Vince has, dreams about.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to find a way to get the title off him and then move him, which means he's going to lose in NXT. I would have preferred if they dodged a bullet per se. He got injured. He
just went right up.
Gave the title up.
Yeah.
Don't even bring him back to NXT.
Yeah. Kind of do what they did with Asuka a little bit. Like,
send him straight up.
She obviously forfeited the title on screen in NXT, but she had never lost, got injured. No. And they were like, you know what? Let's just bring her up as undefeated and we'll just go from there. They could have done that. I actually think I've been kind of weighing this because from the shoot, I was like, well, Cross is going to just win the title back, But as it's gone on, I agree with you. I think Cross is 100% a Vince McMahon, like kind of how I felt about Damian Priest. Yeah. Like once Vince sees him and knows who he is and like really knows who he is, Vince is going to be like, I want him. Mm-hmm. Like that bottom, he's up here, which makes me think that I could see him even I could see Finn retaining next week and then Cross going right up. You know what I mean? Instead of maybe having Cross win the title only to lose it later to go back up, to go up at some point. Again, I don't know where they're going to go. I feel like this match I'm torn on, but I do agree with you that this is the world title match. And I feel like when we're talking about a 10 or 11 match, 2-night takeover, it's kind of long. It's the one that is near the middle or bottom of the ones I'm excited for. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily say anything, I think, about the two guys involved, but the world title picture, and especially in NXT, has always been the most important, most well-built story. Yep. And I feel like now, for me, it's not even in the top 5 of the matches I want to see next week. And that's just crazy to think about it,
If I was booking NXT, the way it's been built, I would have Cross and Bella main event night 1, which is on USA as well as Peacock. Mm-hmm. And then night 2, I would have Io and Raquel.
Yeah.
I think the way it's been built.
Yeah. I would not disagree with that. I would not disagree with that at all. All right. Then we run into our main event, which was the Gauntlet Battle Royal. I thought when they announced it last week, I didn't understand the rules fully.
No, I didn't either.
I thought it was a little bit convoluted with how they were saying it, but I did like how they had Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett in the ring to explain it before tonight. I thought they made them super clear tonight, or last night, I'm sorry. Basically, the top 6 dudes would end up in the gauntlet match of night 1. But I also loved how they made it that when it got to the final 6, the order of elimination was the order of how – I love how they added stakes to the final 6, because you hear that right away and you're like, oh, so once you get down to the final 6, that's all that matters. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I did like how they layered in that. So if you win, you enter last, which is a huge advantage after a long gauntlet match. Yeah. I did love how they added the stakes there. Like, it made it matter more.
It may, like, you wanted to get to the top 6 to be in the match.
Yes.
But then you wanted to get as far as you could to get it as late as you could.
Yes.
And I liked how they had the graphic down the bottom when someone got eliminated, so you knew who was coming in.
Yep.
That, to me, that was good.
I thoroughly enjoyed Dexter Lumis just standing in the corner basically the whole time.
3/4,
Yeah, just standing there. Nobody went to hit him either. Like, they're all like, no, you're a weirdo. I don't want to touch you. Like, nope, not going near you. You're odd. I thought that was a fun little thing that they did, that they layered in. One thing that not bothered me, that's strong. But I cannot stand when they do these elimination things with Naomi doing the cool ones where, like, she jumps to the railings, and Kofi and Morrison. That's fine. But the last couple Royal Rumbles and this one, like, if you land on your back, you're out. You're out. Like, I just don't understand. And I get it. Like, they've portrayed Austin Theory to be this dumb meathead, right? Like, that's his character. He's a dumb idiot that Gargano's kind of trying to teach the way.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand, like, it was funny, it was stupid, but like my whole thing to begin with is like, dude, like, yeah, your feet don't hit the floor. If your back's on the floor, you were thrown out of the ring. You're out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It's a small thing. It just bothers me. It just bothers me.
I'm with
But
you. It's silly.
yeah, and they did that thing where he's like, "Oh, all right, my feet, all right, let me get in there," and then he has the bright idea, "Oh, I'm gonna do a kip up," and then he does the kip up. His feet hit the ground. And he gets eliminated again. They make him look like an absolute moron. Yep. But that's the character they're going with, so it's fine. But it is a pet peeve of mine with when it's like your back's on the ground, but your feet aren't, so you're not out. Like, that's just
if they did it sparingly, I probably wouldn't mind so much. But they do it just about every battle royal, and it just gets annoying. Don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. So then we end up with our final 6. We have Dexter Lumis, LA Knight, Swerve Scott, Leon Ruff, Bronson Reed, and Cameron Grimes. So 2 things. Well, one, before we got to the final 6, we did have Kushida and Pete Dunne kind of going at each other in the match, and they got eliminated over the top rope together, and they kind of spilled out and they were still kind of going at each other a little bit. And then we cut to a commercial, and when we came back, we had our final 6, and they also announced that on TakeOver next week, it's going to be Pete Dunne one-on-one with Kushida. And for a match that they make a week before a TakeOver, that is at the top of my, like, that is, oh my God. Like, oh man, that is going to be maybe the match of TakeOver if they give them the time to, like, that's going to be special.
We're fickle sometimes as fans. Like, we want this, this quality build, and we want this, we want that. But then we get a match like this that's announced a week before, and we're like, we don't care. How good is this?
Do not care. Do not care at all. It's going
there
to
be. There are certain times when you just don't need a build. You just need 2 guys and give them time and let them go.
Yeah. And
these 2 are exactly that.
Man, that is going to be I think if they give them enough time, which I hope they do. And NXT takeovers, I know it's a 2-night affair, but like NXT takeovers have usually been good about time. Like, they're usually plan them out pretty well.
I don't know what they're going to do with night 1, considering it's on USA as well.
Exactly. I know they're
going to chop that to 2 hours. Or
I don't know. I know there have been weeks where they've done the run over where, it's gone to 10, 10, 10, 15, 10, 20. So I don't know, maybe if they're like, hey, we're going to 10:30 that night, cool. And they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. But it does seem like there's 5 or 6. I think there's 5 matches for night 1, including a gauntlet, which I'm assuming is going to take some time. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, hopefully they just let them kind of go however long they need to go, One thing about
it's gonna be so good.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. One thing about the final 6 that stuck out to me is they're like 6 relatively new guys in the title scene, which I like. You got Dexter Lumis, you got LA Knight, who's brand new, like just showed up. You got Swerve Scott, you got Ruff, who's been North American champion, but the way they portrayed that story was a fluke kind of thing. You got Bronson Reed, who they've been pushing for a little bit now. And then you got Cameron Grimes, who we all know I love Cameron Grimes. But there's 6 guys that haven't really been in a huge title picture before. And I like that. I like how they're using the North American title to introduce new contenders for championships. And then it went down. Also, Johnny Gargano was on commentary, and he was doing edge puns when it came to Beth Phoenix, which I thought were just hysterical. I just need to call that out because they made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. We get down to the order that will come is Swerve got eliminated first out of the 6. Then he was followed by Leon Ruff. And then the first time we see Lumis move is Cameron Grimes, LA Knight are trying to get Bronson Reed out. Bronson Reed obviously being a bigger fella. That's when Lumis goes. He helps him eliminate him. And then Cameron Grimes does the smooth move of whipping out thousands of dollars and offers both LA Knight and Dexter Lumis money to eliminate themselves so he can win. And they both say, no.
No thanks.
No thanks. And they eliminate Grimes. And then we have LA Knight and Lumis in the ring. And it ends up being LA Knight winning. So he will enter the gauntlet match last next week. I think that's a perfect spot for him. He's brand new. He's been cutting great promos since he's got there. He's been saying that, he's the next star of the company. He's where the money's at, all this stuff. So I think entering last and having that advantage is something that works perfectly for that character.
Agreed.
What are your opinions of this gauntlet match? So the winner of the gauntlet match in night 1 will be facing Gargano in night 2 for the North American title. Yep. Of those 6 guys, do you have someone that you think is your favorite, or that you think, who do you think is going to win the gauntlet match?
Well, the Battle Royal was typical Battle Royal stuff.
Yeah, I thought so.
I enjoyed Loomis standing in the corner doing his thing. As we said, I enjoyed that the match had stakes, and they kept you informed of when people got eliminated to the last 6, who was coming in winner, the eliminator. That was all good. Who do I think is going to win? I think it has to be Loomis. They've already had the history.
The story they've been building, right?
Yeah, he abducted Theory at the last takeover. It just seems natural. Yeah. Night 1 tonight, which normally WWE booking would say Loomis is going to get the next one.
Yeah,
that's where I think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, but if I had to say someone, I would be going Loomis.
Yeah, I'd probably lean with you there. I think, it's the story that they've been layering in for the last few months is Loomis and Gargano, so it only makes sense. There's a bunch, out of the 6, I would be okay with probably any of them besides Ruff, because we've already kind of seen that Ruff and Gargano thing. Nothing against him. He's fine. But, but I would probably lean with you and say that they'll kind of conclude the Loomis storyline with Gargano over those 2 nights of TakeOver next week.
Yeah.
And then we have
interesting way Indy's alliance is going to lie, because she's made
she thinks Loomis is a hunk. She thinks Loomis is a hunk over there. So well, I mean, it's intriguing. There are other layers, which is why I think he is probably the perfect pick to win it, because there are other layers involved. So it's not just like, this guy won a Battle Royal, so here's a random match against Gargano. It's like, this guy won the Battle Royal, but they have a history, so we can build off other things, Then we have, finally, for the final time, Io and Raquel have their final brawl. They spill over to ringside. I also thought it was a nice touch of NXT to have the women interrupting a men's segment the way that it worked out, because you had LA Knight, who won, was kind of talking crap to Gargano, who was at commentary at ringside. And then all of a sudden you just heard Io's music, and she just came down right in the middle of it. Usually it's the other way around. A lot of times you see the men come down to interrupt the women. So I just thought that was nice. It was a nice little touch to kind of see it go the other way there.
Yeah, I agree.
But they were brawling, and then the whole women's roster comes out to try to separate their 2, and they're breaking apart, and they're just going. And it leads to Raquel along with like the whole women's roster on the outside, and Io does a springboard crossbody onto the whole crew. They all fall down, and then it kind of ends with Io standing tall to end the night, heading into TakeOver next week. I know we had kind of talked about it a little bit, but with the night 1 main event of Raquel and Io, what are your thoughts and opinions, and who do you think will be leaving the NXT Women's Champion on night 1 of TakeOver?
The way this ended, I really enjoyed Io coming out and losing her absolute mind. That just, she's become unhinged, which adds another layer to the match. So it goes back to what I said before. I understand why they did this ending. I just, for the most part, didn't feel it was necessary.
Yeah.
Who do I think wins? I think Raquel, it's her time. Whether Io stays in NXT after she loses, I don't know. I don't think she needs to. I would prefer her to go up and, have matches with Ripley, Asuka, Bayley, Sasha, so on and so forth. So I think it's Raquel's time, and then I think they will eventually lead to a Raquel Dakota thing, and so on from there. But yeah, it has to be Raquel's time.
I would agree with that. I think they built her. This is a woman who they had beat Rhea Ripley twice in a row to send Rhea Ripley to the main roster, and Rhea Ripley was very important to NXT. She was always held
Yep.
in super high regard. So, you know, when they have Raquel down there and they have her beat her back to back in those last two matches, like, you know, that's a sign that says, okay, they think she's the next like real one.
She's a
To
big
me
deal,
at least.
yeah.
Oh yeah. And I agree with you fully. I think it's her time. I do think she leaves as the champion after night one, and I see Io going up to the main roster as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of on the same line there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, next week should be good. I know, like you said at the beginning, we might be a little different next week because I think we got some exciting things with Love Wrestling happening next week.
Spencer will keep everyone informed on that.
Oh
so.
yeah, Spencer will, I'm sure, release those fun details soon. So next week might look a little bit different, but Matt and I are going to be your War Report guys. Soon to be a Tuesday and Wednesday night, not the Wednesday night War anymore. It'll be back-to-back different night shows, but we will still be here every Thursday for you. Support Love Wrestling, follow Love Wrestling. And please give us feedback on this show. We're very excited. I'm very excited to have Matt here for the future of this show. I think we're only going up from here. So I'm super excited to have you on board. Where can the people find you on the social medias? Anything you got to plug or anything like that?
Yeah, you can see my Twitter is right. Yeah, right there. There we go. Found it. Woo! Right there. Add me. I've got a YouTube as well. You can find the link there. Just hit 100 subs. Looking to get more. Happy to be a part of Love Wrestling. Going to do this on the weekly. Going to do some other things. WrestleMania week. There's a lot coming up. As we said, Spencer will keep everyone informed. There's going to be a whole range of things. Hopefully, I'm going to be on some sort of live post show for one of the WrestleMania nights. So yeah, it's going to be all good. As you said, JPJ, just give us some feedback. Let us know what's good, what's not good. Constructive criticism is good. It can only help.
Agreed.
Just don't be douchey about it.
Yeah. Don't be mean.
Yeah. We're just here to have fun and talk a bit of shit. So yeah, this was fun, and it will continue to be fun each and every week.
All right. Rock and roll. You can follow me right down here on the Twitter at Joseph_Poulin Jr. I am JPJ. He is Matt. Thank you for watching the War Report, and we will see you next week.